This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
What happened with the U.S. men's national team collapse? We tell you next. Welcome into Sports Source Premier. I'm Will West. That's Chris Carroll. It's the Premier League in 20 minutes. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this content. Agree or disagree with anything we said, we're wide open to any type of criticism someone might want to throw out there. Speaking of criticism, let's start. U.S. men's national team. Fall in the CONCACAF Nations League. Shocking loss to Panama, and then an uninspiring loss, it seemed like, to Canada. What was your read on the U.S. men's national team's performance under Poch?
Not great. It seemed lackluster, and I really hope it comes together in the last few months before the World Cup, but it seems miles away at the moment. And what surprises me, doesn't matter how fractured everything is with the players and the coach, what they've been criticised for, or most about in the last games, is a lack of aggression. Well, if you get any players and they're representing the country, the one thing that shouldn't be missing is aggression. I don't mean aggression necessarily running around kicking everybody, but being aggressive in wanting to attack, wanting to impress, and at least cause problems for the opposition defence, even if you're not technically the greatest and not playing the perfect patterns that you want to play. Go out there, have a go at least. And that, for me, and that's been the US way in all sports. One thing you can guarantee is fitness from US athletes, fitness and aggressiveness. And for that to be missing is really alarming.
Yeah, they seemed exhausted. I do wonder, we're 3 managers in under a lot of these players, and you haven't been able to get much out of them, and they seem unmotivated when they don't want to win. And that's a little bit problematic. And some of these are really the stars of U.S. soccer right now. I would say this, Pochettino's system, as someone who is a diehard Spurs fan, and you take your hat off in my home when you say the name Pochettino, but I do think they clearly are having troubles right now with his system. It's a little different than what American soccer's used to. The back four, you can't just miss your man. You have to mark your man. You have to stay in shape. You have to be able to do your job, because they're not going to commit the entire midfield back to help you out. Right. And the back four, I thought, struggled in both of those matches. The other thing that's going to be interesting, 2 other things jumped out to me. McKinney, Adams, Reyna, when they're in that midfield, you have to play that Christian Eriksen role, which is moving the ball forward at all times, right? You're moving the ball into the attacking area. You don't need the guys that are up front in the midfield. You don't need Pulisic to be the guy. If he's going to play your center attacking midfielder, he's not the one that needs to go box to box or even take it up from half. You have to have those other guys that are in the midfield to pull the ball up. And then Pulisic has to be able to play off of his striker if he's going to be the guy in the center. Right. That's the way this needs to go. I don't need him over to the left, over to the right, then looking to set up corners for the other midfielders coming up. That's not the way the Pochettino system has worked in the past. And I also wonder with Pulisic, he looks tired. Yeah. And I know he has 15 goals in all competitions right now in Italy, and they are wearing him out, right? So I get it. He's also incredibly undersized. I don't know if he is the guy to play in that role necessarily. Maybe he is, and there were times it looked like he set his teammates up for plays, but in that center attacking midfield role under Pochettino, your job is to work with your striker to be the 2 goal scoring options, and then you let the other guys be the one that play the ball in to you. He had 0 touches in the final 18 yards against Canada. 0 touches. He only completed 7 of 12 passes in the U.S. attacking half in that match against Canada. So is he exhausted? Is that not the right fit for him necessarily? I think it's also going to be a learning curve for him to understand my job is to put the biscuit in the basket, not necessarily set everyone else up to score. I will say that Ajiman also, young, raw player, didn't get a lot of great coaching probably coming up. He's 24 years old, played D3 soccer before moving to the USL and now with the MLS. He has to learn how to be that high-pressing machine. And he has the physical capabilities of it. Josh Sargent, it's fast enough, probably has the pace for it, but I don't know that he's necessarily skilled enough to be able to play kind of that Harry Kane role. And no one's asking these guys to be Harry Kane, but you have to both be in a high-pressing situation and be able to drop back and defend when you need to drop back and defend, but also constantly thinking goal scoring. And it just seems like Ajiman could do one, not the other. And it seems like Josh Sargent is just not necessarily built to be that quality of a defensive player.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole host of issues there. So Ajiman, He's been through the college system, so he gets out of the college system playing with college players and he's 21, 22, by the time he's done. So he's missed 4 years or 5 years of playing with men, if you like, in the pro game. So he can be as willing as you like, but he's just not savvy. He hasn't got the savvy, the pro savvy yet. So he needs help. Then the aggression and the energy coming from the midfield, that's what's lacking. So if there's no energy coming from the midfield, then Pulisic is standing up there. What happens is forwards make runs. The energy doesn't come from the midfield. They don't get the ball, so they stop making the runs because they think, what's the point? So, and then everything just dominoes to negatively. So there's a lot of issues. Then they've got a coach who doesn't know the US psyche, and I think that's important as well. He hasn't coached in the States before. He's getting to know his players. I know the players they're all scattered around Europe and some in the States, and geographically it does seem, I don't know if it's psychologically, but I know a lot of, let's just look at England. I know England's they haven't won a World Cup in a long time, but most of English players, I would say, play in the English league. So they get to see each other and hang out with each other, or at least play on a weekly basis. Italian players likewise, German players in their league as well. The States, the US players, they're everywhere. They're miles from home. The coach is foreign as well. So I'm just wondering if there's some chemistry missing as well, that hopefully over the next few months he can grab that over the next four windows or camps. So there's a heck of a lot to work on. They're also struggling. They're missing some players out with injury. They got a Gold Cup, CONCACAF Gold Cup coming on that McKennie and Rayner may not be able to play in because they're in the World Cup with the World Club Cup with their clubs, which would be ridiculous in my opinion. So yeah, hopefully it could all gel. I really hope it does, but there's a lot of issues at the moment.
Let's stick with American soccer. The USL announcing 6-7 days ago that they're going to go to a promotion and relegation model, the first in U.S. football history, but to compete with the MLS. Now, what was interesting about the statement they put out, within the confines of the U.S. Soccer Federation, which is concerning to me because, the U.S. Soccer Federation, there's a lot of intermarriage between the MLS and the U.S. Soccer Federation. Will the U.S. Soccer Federation attempt to handcuff them and make this not work because they are so intermarried with the MLS right now? But your thoughts on the USL going to promotion and relegation?
Breath of fresh air. I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled about it. There's a light at the end of the tunnel now in US soccer. I really think there is. And no one, the fan doesn't really care who the federation is. They just look at the league and what they see in front of them. And I can see the USL now being stronger, getting stronger, just because it'll be more interesting immediately. I'll watch a game on television if I think the team in green will get relegated if they lose this, and the team in blue, they're going to win the league if they win it. And immediately it's interesting. If there's nothing on the game, I'm not going to watch. So immediately lots of more people are going to watch this. I think they've done it now because there's no real financial loss. There's no big money in the USL at the moment. So if someone gets relegated, they're not going to lose out on a big TV deal or whatever because it's not there right now. So I think it's perfect timing for them. I think they've been really smart. Who knows? You know what? I could see this being competitive to the MLS and really threatening them. And then US Soccer will have a decision to make.
That's the MLS needs competition. It's the only way that it's going to adjust what it's doing right now. And again, you built a league like the NFL, and you've put so much money. The owners are making money without having a great product. So right now there's no motivation to put something that's quality. And they're still putting fans in the arenas, and they're showing up because U.S. soccer fan wants to support American soccer. And my hope is this forces the MLS. I don't know the USL is ever going to pass the MLS. But will this force the MLS to have to go to this model or merge with the USL? That's my hope. And I think that's the best case scenario. I don't think the MLS is going anywhere because they all hire U.S. Soccer Federation, the MLS all hire the same people. So that's a lot of why Greg Berhalter was the coach at the U.S. men's national team for so long. So I don't think it's necessarily going to make the MLS go away or legitimately compete with them, but I hope that it gives the American soccer fan enough of an alternative that it hurts the MLS enough that they say, okay, we're going to have to go to this as well. And then maybe we get legitimate sport. But the tough part's this. Where's the money? It's in the MLS. I mean, David Beckham's there, Messi's there. You have Matthew McConaughey who's involved, right? The money right now is in the MLS, and right now they want to protect the money they're making, and so I don't know that without something like this they would ever change, but I do not believe the USL can compete with the MLS long term.
I don't know. It might be 30 years, but and it'll be slow. Who knows? But I definitely think the USL is going to be more interesting.
I'll be far more willing to watch that than the MLS.
Yeah, so would I. And so if you and I will, there's going to be. It's not just me and you. You know what I mean? There's going to be thousands that will do the same, and maybe they merge and form one league, which would be the ideal.
Yeah.
But the MLS, I could see the MLS getting not left behind, but people getting less interested with the competition.
All right, so let's head back to England. We're the time of this taping, we're in the international break. There was a lot of belief in England that right now we would see the Man City verdict come down or the punishments come down for Manchester City. It still hasn't happened, and this is going back years. They're found guilty like years.
Was it 2018?
Yeah. I mean, it's wild how long this has taken. What do you believe will happen to Manchester City? What punishment will be levied? What should happen in your mind? Let's start with what will happen in your opinion.
I'm hoping what will happen. I think what will happen is probably what should happen. If they've broken the rules, and the rules are there, whether you agree with the rules or not, they're there.
You've agreed to play by them, right?
Yeah, and so if you've broken them, then take the punishment and take the hit. Now, I don't think retrospectively, because it's taken this board so long, I don't think you can retrospectively take titles away from them. So it's going to be a points deduction. Now, I think the biggest in English history, for different reasons, was Luton Town. I think they were 30 points. I think they were docked 30 points. You could take 30 points off Man City now, they'd still be one off the relegation.
Yeah.
They'd still survive. So I think they'll get hit by something like, what was Everton? 7 points, 3 points. Forest was 7 points,
one
something
was
like that.
10, one was 7.
10, yeah. So it could, and again, it depends how they compare to Everton and Forest from last year. If it's worse, they'll get more, so it could be something between 10 and 20 points. Who knows? I don't know, but I think that's what it should be.
I would say 50. That's what it should be. That's what I think it will be. I agree with you. And I saw one of the Liverpool papers had, this is how many titles the Liverpool would win if Manchester City's honors are revoked. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think what will happen is they'll hit them with a large enough penalty that they'll be relegated, and they'll kill everyone in the championship and then come right back up next season. And after they dominate that league, and that's fine. But I think, to me, what you have to do is the punishment has to somewhat fit the crime. If you're going to have these types of rules, you have to have a large enough penalty that you lay on the table that other teams are scared to do the same thing. Otherwise, why couldn't anyone else do that and just bring in as much money as possible? The other side of it's the accounting side. For the idea that maybe they've used false accounting methods to be able to say we brought in this much money, or this much money was used for promotional reasons as opposed to paying players. That's the other thing that I would want to clean up if I'm the EPL, is I don't need you using false accounting methods, and I don't want other clubs doing this. It's less about Man City to me versus about the integrity of the rest of your clubs. And so whether you like the rules being there or not, I think you hit them once, you relegate them, 50 points, they get relegated, you move on. Now, at the same time, we still have some season left. Maybe they don't get relegated. They drop 50 points with where they're at right now. I think that'll be the deduction. I think they will be relegated. I think that Man City will appeal, because clearly they are not afraid to use billable hours with a legal firm to be able to fight this as far as they can go. I think this ends up probably being the end of it, and I think they get 50 points. Now, when does that get announced?
I don't know.
2033, 2034, yeah. I don't know how long we're looking at, but it'll probably be a while.
I don't know if it'll be 50, because it'd be harsh. It depends. I mean, how many charges have been, like 115 or something? How many charges were Everton and Forest? I don't know.
Everton
maybe
was
3 or 4.
Well, yeah, it was a couple, and it was £16 million. If we're looking at hundreds of millions of pounds, you know what I mean?
If they're guilty of it, I think a lot of those 115 have been dropped now, and they're down to a few. And now, if they're fudging the books and giving them, they've been less than willing to show them the accounts or the correct accounting. So that's another sort of crime in itself. So yeah, it's got to fit the crime. But, like I say, I think they could get away with a 30-point deduction and still probably a 40-point deduction and still stay up.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do agree with you there. All right. Bill Connolly with ESPN did a piece this week talking about, and what he used is an algorithm to determine the most watchable teams in European football right now. I want to know from you, in the EPL, to you, give me a couple of the most watchable clubs in your opinion.
Okay, for me, because you can choose your game now, can't you?
Yeah.
So if Wolves aren't playing at the same time, because I'd always go with Wolves.
Peacock right there, yeah.
Yeah, I'll suffer and watch Wolves. But if Wolves aren't playing, I'll look out. If there's a Forest game on or a Newcastle game, I'll watch that. Because of just the way they play. They do a bit of everything for me, and I think that's the way soccer. I've always thought that's the way soccer should be. It shouldn't be just one way tiki-taka 5-yard passes like City have done it to death. I'm bored with that now. I've always liked the concept of when you haven't got the ball, defend as high as you can, as high as is sensible for the whole team. When you win the ball, let's go look forward first, and let's go attack as quickly as is sensible. In as many numbers as you can. And if you've got pace, you've got pacey players, use them and get them going. So, and Forest and Newcastle do that. I like the blend in their teams. They're not all based around one or two superstars. I love watching the superstars, but I think it just proves what you can do with a blend of athletes, with a blend of players who are playing for each other. I just love watching those two.
I'll say Bournemouth. I think it's the most watchable team right now. Part of that's the top half of the table. No one scores more goals, and no one gives up more goals in the top half of the table, which means things are going to happen, right? There's going to be action, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
So I love that Bournemouth. Part of it might be that I'm not used to Bournemouth being this successful, and so there's a little bit of a novelty to seeing that. In the same way, I agree with you on Forest. If Spurs aren't playing, I'll watch Wolves if Wolves are on, but if not, I'm going to watch the Forest game probably first, or the Bournemouth match, because I want to see what those. I'm not used to them being successful. Really good fan bases as well. So it seems like really good atmosphere with those fans. I said Bournemouth one, and then the other one is, it's not Spurs, but it's whoever's playing Spurs. It's really watchable. Look, I'm wearing a Spurs shirt right now. I am a Spurs fan. They're a train wreck, and you have no idea what's going to happen. And the one thing you don't have with Spurs is consistency. And so you'll see the spurts where they're down 2-0, and then boom, they come back and get a draw, right? Or they're up 3-1, and nope, blow that lead, and
never
get a point. Yeah,
never boring. No, you never don't know what you're going to get. No, that's true.
Yeah, so that to me, that's why I said Spurs, and really, it's less about the Spurs. It's whoever's playing Spurs, because the train wreck's coming. It's a roller coaster ride one way or the other every time they step on the field.
Well, all of these teams and all these games that we're talking about, it's teams that aren't afraid to attack. A lot of teams. In recent years, when they play against a better team, they'll all drop back and they'll just wait for hope for a corner or
3
a free
or 4
kick
counter-attacking opportunities in match.
They'll try and hold out, and it just gets boring. Now teams are thinking, well, let's have a go. We've got pacey players. Adama Traore, if you got him on your team, give him the ball. When he played for Wolves, he got the ball. Everyone was out of their seats. They knew he was going to have a go. Now, his end product wasn't great, but he's doing the same for Fulham now. Bournemouth, you mentioned Bournemouth. That's another great team with good attacking players, and they're not scared to have a go. They haven't got a coach holding them back, and they're winning more than they're losing, and that's great, And I think we're coming out of a bit of a boring time, and I think City's been, for whatever reason, City. Everyone's not trying to play the City way now. They're realising, hey, if we have a go at this, we can be successful. We might as well go down fighting.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, Final segment: promotion, relegation. Our buy or sell segment here on Sports Source Premier. One entity, team, player that you're promoting, one entity, team, player that you're going to relegate.
Yeah, well, so promotion.
Start with promotion.
Promotion, okay. Well, look, bless him. I'm going with Cristiano Ronaldo. And I know the argument at the moment is, should he be playing for Portugal? Is he holding them back? And, he's not as good as he was, etc., etc. I get all that. But I'll tell you what, I've got to take my hat off to the guy. He's 40. He's 40. I didn't realise. I snuck up on me. I knew he was getting close. But he's 40. He's won 218 caps. So you've got to give the guy some credit. And look, he's not the player he was. He has slowed up. But if he is valuable in that Portugal camp, then he deserves to be there, and he should be there. If he's not, then that's the time that you should say, time's done. Because the coach is getting criticism now for just playing Ronaldo and keeping him around because he's Ronaldo. Now, I think if the players didn't like him being around, I think the coach would know, and I think it would be poisonous, and I think it would have come out by now. But I haven't heard any rumblings from the players that he shouldn't be there. I mean, he's an unbelievable example on how to act, how to be a pro,
how to be a professional. Yes,
that's right. He's obviously proud playing for his country, which doesn't give you a pass. But the whole package, I think it's unbelievable.
He and Ronaldo A lot of people have said Tom Brady, LeBron James, where they realized they studied what Ronaldo does from a recovery standpoint,
right,
and said, okay, this is what it takes to be a pro and to be able to have longevity in your career. And so, and if you look at those guys, no one's ever had longevity in American sports like those two guys have.
Yeah.
And Ronaldo is a lot of who they studied, and I think him being there around the young guys, worth it, right? It's absolutely worth having them be exposed to this is how a professional acts. This is how a professional carries themselves. It'll be very good and pay dividends for the younger players on that squad with him just being there.
And they're going to want to impress him.
Yeah.
If Ronaldo's in the room or out on the training pitch and you're supposed to be running, you're going to run.
Yeah.
Or you're going to eat right. And in fact, I've heard that in the restaurant. You know, everyone's scared to death to put a bit of a dessert on that plate because Ronaldo doesn't even touch it, you know. So, it's like it's all out of bounds, you know.
Yep.
So, he has a great influence everywhere he goes on his teammates, I'm sure.
All right, so I'll promote, I'm going to say Norwegian scores. The last week of league play that we had, you had Holland with a goal, you had Sorloth with a goal to beat Barcelona, and then you had Strand Larsen for Wolves with 2 goals, right?
Yes.
So I look at Norway and I'm like, if they can figure anything out at the back end at all, they are going to be terrifying in the World Cup. But now I don't know if they're going to figure out anything in the back end. But if it's just even remotely in order, that could be a very scary team. Again, I don't know that they can win the World Cup. But you want to talk about a team you don't want to face in knockout rounds, right?
Yeah,
Norway might be one.
Yeah, they got a bit of a threat up top, haven't they?
Yeah.
I know, that's right. They're not too shabby down the team either.
Yeah.
So, there's some... I don't know if there's a clear favourite or favourites, really, for the old 1-2, Spain, and you go Spain, Argentina. But beyond those two, I think it's pretty open.
It is. I think it's absolutely open. All right, relegation.
I've had to come back to this Man City saga and this independent commission who are doing this just because of how long it's taken, and it's just dragged on and on. Everyone just wants it over now. I don't think anybody cares what the outcome is by this point.
Just get it over with.
Get it done, put us out of our misery, put City out of their misery, and let's move on. But I think who is this independent commission? What a mess.
Yeah, it is. I'll really I'm going to say the EPL again. I don't know if you've seen this, but 2 different reports. Clubs are looking to have a supermajority vote this offseason. They would shorten the transfer window to end at the beginning of the season instead of going into the beginning of the season. Now, this in 2018, this was a topic of conversation. Manchester United was at first for it. Jose Mourinho, who was the manager at the time of Manchester United, pointed out to management there, wait a minute, so I can have a player leave, but I can't bring another player in to fill that void.
Yeah.
So this is a bad decision, bad idea. Don't handcuff your clubs. You are it. You run all of, frankly, football, soccer around the world. There is no sports league bigger than the EPL. They're not going to follow you if it gives them an advantage. Understand? You think maybe they'll follow you. Not if it gives them an advantage over you. So I would say this is a bad decision. Don't handcuff your clubs where their player can leave, but you can't bring another player back in.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Already there's some overlap. I think is it Greece or Turkey that has a slightly different window to everybody else. I wonder if this is going to end up to what it was back in the day. Back in the day, decades ago, when I was growing up watching soccer, there was no window. You could just buy players whenever you want, sell players whenever you want, and just get on with it. And that was it. The player made the decision, or the club made the decision. Yeah, we'll let you go. If the price is right, we'll let you go. If the time's right. And you know what? I don't think that's a bad argument to go back to what it was.
I'd love to see that. It seems like they're trying to go the other way, and I just don't know that toothpaste is going back in the tube.
No.
That's Chris Carroll. I'm Will West. Remember, like, subscribe. Thank you for joining us on Sports Source Premiere.